Are times when we have no other way than to burn ourselves in order to be heard, in order to get the message across. The people of Vietnam did not want the war, but there was no way for this voice to be heard. The warring parties controlled all the radio, the television, and the newspapers. To burn ourselves like that was not an act of violence, it was an act of compassion, an act of peace. The suffering of the monk who burns himself to convey a message of love and compassion is of the same nature as the act of Jesus Christ dying on the cross, dying with no hate, no anger, only compassion, leaving behind a compassionate call for peace, for brotherhood. A year later, on June 1st, 1966, I met Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. in person for the first time in Chicago. From that moment, I knew I was in the presence of a holy person. Not just his good work, but his very being was a source of great inspiration for me. When those who represent a spiritual tradition embody the essence of their tradition, just the way they walk, sit, and smile speaks volumes about the tradition. Martin Luther King Jr. was young at the time, and I was. We both belonged to the Fellowship of Reconciliation, an organization working to help groups in conflict find peaceful resolution. We had tea together in his room, and then we went down for a press conference. In the press conference, Dr. King spoke out for the first time against the Vietnam War. That was the day we combined our efforts to work for peace in Vietnam and to fight for civil rights in the US. We agreed that the true enemy of man is not man. Our enemy is not outside of us. Our true enemy is the anger, hatred, and discrimination that is found in the hearts of minds of man. We have to identify the real enemy and seek nonviolent ways to remove it. I told the press that his activities for civil rights and human rights were perfectly in accord with our efforts in Vietnam to stop the war. Just two more paragraphs. In May 1967, 1 year later, I met Dr. King again in Geneva at a conference called Pacem in Terris, Peace on Earth, organized by the World Council of Churches. Dr. King was staying on the 11th floor. I was on the 4th floor. He invited me up for breakfast, and on my way, I was detained by the press, so I arrived late. He kept the breakfast warm for me, and I had waited for me, and I greeted him, Dr. King, Dr. King, Dr. Hahn, he replied. When we were able to continue our discussion on peace, freedom, and community, and what kinds of steps America could take to end the war, and we agreed that without a community, we cannot go very far. Without happy, harmonious community, we will not be able to realize our dream. I said to him, Martin, do you know something? In Vietnam, they call you Bodhisattva, an enlightened being trying to awaken other living beings and help them move toward more compassion and understanding. I'm glad I had the chance to tell him that because just a few months later, he was assassinated in Memphis. I was in New York when I heard the news of his assassination. I was devastated. I could not eat. I could not sleep. I made a deep vow to continue building what he called the beloved community, not only for myself, but for him also. I have done what I promised to Martin Luther King Jr., and I think I have always felt his support. I'm struck by that in this moment, as these monks have gotten our national attention, having walked 2,100 miles, some without shoes on their feet, for the last several months to get our undivided attention as Americans. Johnny, in some way, Dr. King is also talking about and living a simple life, and he's encouraging us to consider that as an option as well.
Yeah. Jesse, I hadn't read that in years. When you listen to Thich Nhat Hanh and you think about Dr. King's own writing, and I reflect on the conversation that you just had with Earl and Atiba, with Earl Wyatt and Atiba, one wonders, what is the world producing today in terms of the type of leadership, the type of commitment that ordinary citizens of the world, the world itself produces? These are really giants. As we look back, we understand how significant their contribution is to human development, how they gave of themselves. Jesse, I like to use the term, how they donated themselves to social change and human development. And I'm struck, as you, by the clarity in their voice, their ability to assess where they were then and reflect on how we seek to define and understand where we are today.
Johnny, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We're going to go deep into the spiritual nature of what movement and resistance really looks like when we engage our entire being in such an effort. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward with Johnny Mack.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
What's up? What's up? What's up? We got to laugh the pain away.
Hey, KBLA delegation, happy Black History Month. Around here, we celebrate our culture, our community, and our contributions daily. But this year, as we observe the 100th anniversary of Black History Month celebrations, we're excited about our annual KBLA Talk 1580 Black History Month Luncheon, honoring comedy greats. On Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum in downtown LA, we're toasting D.L. Hughley, Melanie Camacho, Earthquake, Munell, Dion Cole, and Martin Lawrence with a surprise guest appearance. A limited number of individual tickets for the luncheon remain, so now would be a good time to head to KBLA1580.com to secure one for yourself. That's KBLA1580.com. A little laughter goes a long way, especially in times like these. So come, join us for our annual KBLA Talk 1580 Black History Month Luncheon, Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum. Again, tickets are available right now at KBLA1580.com.
Well, I hang around my boy. He's been married for 6 years. Videotaped his wedding day, never watched it. Now and every day he watch it every day, but he watch it in reverse. Because he said he loves seeing himself take that ring back off of that finger. Walking back down that aisle, just waving at her ugly mother down the church. Getting back in the limo, back at the bachelor party. Look how happy I was.
KBLA Talk 1580 thanks LA City Council members Curran D. Price Jr. and Heather Hutt for being the presenting sponsors at this year's Black History Month Luncheon. Honoring excellence, resilience, and achievement, we are KBLA Talk 1580.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-729-7070. That's 1-800-729-7070. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. That's 1-800-729-7070. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to Thought-Provoking Thursdays and the World House with Dr. Johnny Mack. Dr. Mack's research includes extensive study of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s logic of nonviolence and the U.S. Civil Rights Movement. He explicates Dr. King's logic of nonviolence using King's call to restructure the social edifice, and particularly its triple evils of poverty, racism, and militarism, with a revolution of values that is effected through peaceable power. I'm honored that he grants us this very special time every Thursday. Dr. Mack, welcome forward.
Good to be here, Jesse. Thank you so much.
Johnny, Lord knows I did not want to interrupt your reflection just before the break, but I got to pay the sponsors. We got to pay the bills. Please continue your thinking, and then I do have a few questions for you.
No, I appreciate it, Jesse. Yes, I was, as you say, just reflecting on the reading, as I had not read it in quite some time, and I was reflecting on that type of leadership. But it raises the question, as I picked up from your comments in the last segment, what leadership looks like today, who we are looking to today, and we tend to view leadership in the context of celebrity.
Mm.
And I also gleaned that from your comments in comparing, for example, the athletes of that erstwhile time in the mid 20th century, the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's, who else endured?
Mm.
The many boxers, the Olympic athletes, Jesse Owens, and so many more, Jesse. And so, but each of those were ordinary citizens who somehow rose to the occasion, and they represented an example, Jesse.
Mm.
They understood their role as exemplars of the race, right?
Mm.
Exemplars of our movement,
Mm.
of who and what we are and what we offer to this great nation and to the world. And one wonders, as I think you were doing, and along with your guests in the last hour, who are they today? Who are we today as examples of what we represent as peoples in this greater gathering in the World House today?
Mm.
What is the example that we are demonstrating? And sometimes it's I'm just going to say it a bit embarrassing.
Yeah.
What we are offering to those who come behind us, the examples that we're presenting. On the other hand, there are some exemplary individuals, women and men, who understand the significance of their presence and how they're viewed today.
Mm.
There's much more to say about that, and particularly, I'd like to move the conversation, Jesse, in the broader scope of the global diaspora and where things are today, and what our responsibility collectively as a global diaspora is in reshaping, this new world order that is emerging.
Johnny, just before we make that pivot, I'm thinking in this moment, with a reflection on your reflection, I'm thinking about Poitiers. I'm thinking about Belafonte.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about Leontine Price.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about those entertainers who showed up at the March on Washington, risking their lives, their credibility, their careers to stand for justice. And the excellence, Atiba said, that they demonstrated not only in social protest, but on film. Call me Mr. Tibbs. I mean, these guys stood there with dignity in the face of a systemic oppression, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking also about our Native American brothers and sisters who referred to, the Great Spirit, Great Spirit. And when I hear the reverence in Thich Nhat Hanh's reflection on Martin Luther King Jr., that he felt that he was in the presence of a holy person. And then I bring that all the way up to Johnny Mack's interpretation of something he had read years ago, but is now reflecting upon. And that is, who today, beyond being politically correct or saying all the right stuff or leading the opposition in our own country and around the world, who do we see as a holy person? Who do we see as a great spirit that is exemplar of the Great Spirit? And have they even given consideration to it? Because it's on the stage, but it's also off the stage. It is, in this moment, I think and reflect upon my own shortcomings because I've not been able to bridge the difference oftentimes between the public and the private. It's hard, right? But King was pulling us somewhere. And I'm going to conclude by saying this. In the final statement, if you will, and I'm going to get this wrong, the speech that he gave the night before, he said, I may not get there with you, but he's seen the promised land. I would like to live a long life But the point of my life is not longevity.
Mm-hmm.
It's the quality of the life that I've lived. Dr. King is heading in a space that the traditional ministry and the politicians weren't headed. He became, in death, the Great Spirit.
Mm.
He's the Great Spirit. He's as holy as Thich Nhat Hanh said he was when he met him. And that means that Dr. King paid some attention to intention through all of his actions, his thoughts, and his deed. Johnny Mac.
Paid attention to intention. That's I'm writing that one down, Jesse.
Johnny, I think I borrowed it from you.
So listen, in
time, over time, for all time.
Jesse. Yeah, now not yet, right? And so, in that time, in his time, the world was truly a different place. How we thought about ourselves in the world was quite different. I think studies show that how people, particularly in the Western world, and perhaps a particular segment of the Western world, views religion quite differently. In all religions, by the way, quite differently than it was viewed in the mid-20th century. Some might say we were more holy then. We certainly were more religious than the collective of our humanity in the Western world. And so, people have a lot less confidence in faith and in the holiness of those who reflect a power greater than we are. That uncaused cause, the immovable mover, whatever term you want to give, our creator, if you believe in such a thing, and the goodness that comes from a power greater than we. And King and Thich Nhat Hanh exemplified that in ways that I think you're implying we don't see today. I wish, Jesse, I had the answer. Who is that person or those persons? I think, Jesse, though, that we can find them. They certainly exist. And I think they exist more collectively in our world today than we might understand them to be individually identifiable. That is, we must come together as a collective consciousness. Rather than looking to the one, we must look to us all to reflect that kind of moral integrity and judgment that creates the kind of social gathering, a world where we can live in justice and peace. And so that's one of the problems. Don't let me talk too long, Jesse, but that's one of the problems. We're looking for the next king. I'm often asked as I travel around the globe, who is the next king? And why don't we have a Martin Luther King in our experience, in our world? And when in fact, as King was just an ordinary citizen of the world who rose to the occasion when it called him, each of us can do the same.
Johnny, I want to offer a soft pushback, but not too more complicated than you said, that the leader we're looking for is ourselves, that we're looking within ourselves to make this transformation, to make this complete exodus from who we were to who we will be as a free people. And I reflect on the 250th anniversary, if you will, of the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 1776. Whether we want to accept it or not, our system produced Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Our system, from K through 12, all the way through our lived experiences and history, produced Stephen Miller.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It produced Steve Bannon. It produces the movements that manifest themselves in our politics. The greed, the gluttony, the antithesis of everything that the lives the monks live as they walked from Texas to Washington, D.C., a simple life, and the extraordinary recognition by Thich Nhat Hanh of the great spirit that he saw within Martin Luther King Jr. and Martin Luther King Jr. saw in him. That He was conscious of the development of that spirit. Now, I'd be less than honest. We're having a great spiritual conversation, but I've been in 5 arguments today with 5 different people over this and that. And there is nothing about what you're hearing on the radio in my reflection with Johnny Mack that reflects the kind of day that I've been having. Because when I'm not on the radio, I'm doing what I do and you do what you do, because there is a gap between, how would Jesus have handled this? Asking a question raised by Charles Spurgeon, what would he do? What should we do? Or how Dr. King would handle this? How would he, what tonality, what expressions, what patience? You know, I'm convinced of this, by the way, Johnny. I'm convinced, now that I know my father so well, I'm convinced Dr. King was real patient with my dad, man. He was real patient with him because of this conversation. I know that he was, I know Ambassador Andrew Young, love him to death. He was patient with him. He was patient with Ralph Abernathy. He was patient with Joe Lowry. He was patient with John Lewis. So all of these forces that are luminaries in our consciousness, he was real patient with Stokely Carmichael.
Don't forget Hosea.
Yeah. Don't bring a tear to my eye of laughter, right? He was patient, and it did make him a compelling spirit.
Yes.
And all of us can be CEOs. All of us can be the head of something. But that doesn't make you, just because you're the head of it, doesn't make you the great spirit of the company. It doesn't make you the great spirit of the church. You may be the pastor, but that don't make you the great spirit. She may be sitting right over here on the front row with her hat on, having been there through about 10 pastors, and she's the great spirit of the church. And she sees you coming and going. You know, the great spirit of my father's own organization might have been the late Reverend Willie Taplin Barrow and the late Lucille Conway Lohman. I mean, they were, if you will, you know, the great spirit. And that's not to take anything away from my own father. But who do we see? And I'm not necessarily, I guess I am asking a rhetorical question. Who amongst us do we see as divinity walking in the room, as someone who has engaged in the kind of personal transformation that exudes a great spirit? Mandela, we saw that coming out of prison. I think we clearly saw that in our king. I think there have been others, but they are as rare, Johnny, as a precious stone. And while we may have this collective consciousness that is throughout the diaspora in terms of a hive approach to it, the shining example, not just a city on the hill, but the spirit on the hill, if you will, the spirit on the cross, the example that we look to isn't something that we've necessarily, I've seen in leadership given that kind of reflection to. I know that we'll dig deeper into this when we come forward on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We are here with Johnny Mack. Johnny is our entrepreneur and scholar practitioner on the World House. There's none better in terms of the great spirit energy than Johnny Mack. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul is suing the Trump administration over more than $600 million in public health grant cuts.
These cuts would have a devastating impact on basic public health infrastructure in Illinois.
Raoul says the funding is critical for tracking disease outbreaks and maintaining public health systems. The California Attorney General's office has launched a civil rights investigation into the response to the deadly Eaton fire. The probe will examine whether race, age, or disability discrimination contributed to evacuation delays in West Altadena, a historically Black community where most of the 19 deaths occurred. And residents in Springfield, Ohio remain on edge after a third straight day of bomb threats. Officials say at least 2 churches, including St. John Missionary Baptist Church, the site of a rally in support of Haitian immigrants last week, received threats. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Now is the time to save on an award-winning Nissan at the Nissan Now sales event. featuring the Rogue, Pathfinder, Frontier, and more. Don't wait. These offers are going fast. Shop your Southern California Nissan dealers and NissanUSA.com today.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The UCLA women's basketball team, ranked number 2 in the country, continues to be a dominant force this season. The Bruins extended their winning streak to 18 games after their 23-point win Wednesday night at Michigan State. The Bruins are 24-1, 14-0 in the Big Ten. They have 9 wins over top 25 opponents. Major props to the NBA for covering all expenses for the 2 schools in town this week for the HBCU Classic. The men's basketball teams at Hampton University and North Carolina A&T meet up Friday night at the Forum in Inglewood. In addition to the players and coaches, the NBA covered air travel, hotel, and in-town transportation costs for the marching bands, cheerleaders, and support staff at both schools. Hampton and North Carolina A&T will each receive a $100,000 donation from the NBA for agreeing to play in the HBCU Classic. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
I love a day on the water with friends, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis sometimes holds me back. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy.
Teaching music is my passion, but my active psoriatic arthritis can limit me at times. Now I'm treating my joint symptoms with Skyrizi.
With Skyrizi, most people with plaque psoriasis saw 90% clearer skin at 4 months.
Or if you are an adult with active psoriatic arthritis, Skyrizi helps you move with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
There's nothing like clearer skin.
There's nothing like better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZI to learn more.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, aka the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with the world. African Focus Incorporated is a community-based organization whose mission is to bring Africans and African Americans together, lead charitable initiatives on the motherland, and educate people from all walks of life on the beauty, legacy, and opportunity of Africa's 54 nations. And it's that time once again when African Focus is teaming up with KBLA Talk 1580 for our 8th annual African Focus Trailblazers Tour. Travel with us in 2026 when we're headed to the Southern African nations of Zambia and Botswana for a historical, cultural, and vacation tour led by me, Dominique DePrima, Cultural Ambassador for African Focus Incorporated. Enjoy luxurious accommodations, conscious fellow travelers, shopping, adventures, cultural tours, wildlife safaris, and a giant waterfall, one of the world's 7 wonders, along with a chance to be of service at an orphanage on the continent. Become an AFI trailblazer by exploring the motherland with a nonprofit organization that has members in Africa and America to help roll out the red carpet for you, and together we'll make a difference and have fun doing it. For more information, visit africanfocus.org or call 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300. or AfricanFocus.org. Whether it's stateside or exploring the diaspora, we're with you every step of the way. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Come go with us.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
On KBLA Talk 1580, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., our very special guest in this hour, the World House, with none other than Dr. Johnny Mack. Johnny Mack's research includes extensive study of Dr. King. He focuses on the triple evils of poverty, racism, and militarism with a revolution of values that is effected through peaceable power. A revolution of values. Johnny, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse. Good to be here.
Johnny, we're looking at this Buddhist tradition of value revolution.
Mm-hmm.
This is different than the way some of us as activists have been taught and trained. We do like the things we wear. Man, it's cold up here in Chicago. Not today, but usually. And so Dr. King also said that while he is obviously fighting the poverty, racism, and militarism, he, like Thomas Jefferson, was also a materialist. You've never seen Dr. King not clean shaven in a nice suit and looking sharp as he could be, even at the hour of his tragic murder and assassination. Dr. King was still excellent and at his best. I'm thinking that this revolution of values, when Dr. King, towards the end of his life, is thinking about, I don't know if he's thinking about leaving the movement. I think he's thinking about moving into the classroom, about being a professor of the scholastic space. We can only imagine what he would have produced had he been in that environment for another decade or two of his very young and wonderful but tragically ended life. But Dr. King was, I think, really, really intent on this idea that the internal struggle, if you will, the chi, was as important as the external struggle to condemn injustice, to condemn violence, but that he had internalized it as well. Johnny?
Yeah. So he goes back to what we were saying earlier, that I think each one of us have that challenge. Each one of us can be and rise to the occasion of, what you called that great spirit. That great spirit is a spark in each and every one of us that only perhaps lies dormant until some crises or some major event ignites it. And part of that ignition is our own reflection, our own personal commitment, Jesse. And so, I continue to say that we each have a responsibility. We each have an obligation. It's nice to reflect on the examples that are Martin Luther King and Nelson Mandela, Mohandas K. Gandhi, Rigoberta Menchú of Guatemala, who was a Nobel Peace Prize winner, the first indigenous winner of a Nobel Peace Prize of indigenous people. I was just with her a couple of days ago in Mexico, in Mérida, Mexico. You look at these, giants of personality and commitment and wonder, how did they arise to the occasion? And Jesse, each one of us has that opportunity and even that responsibility in our own way. And I think that we have to be aware of that. We can't look to someone else without looking into ourselves first.
It's clear to me that the authenticity is synthesis between the is and the ought,
Mm.
the who I is, and who I ought to be, right?
Yeah.
It's a real struggle to bridge the two. Dr. King was Hegelian. He believed that the truth could neither be found in the thesis of one's life nor the antithesis of one's life, but in the emergent synthesis which reconciled the two.
That's
Now,
right.
that means you take a little bit of this and a little bit of that. That's the way some people interpret the Hegelian synthesis. But again, the truth is found neither in the thesis nor the antithesis, but in the emergent synthesis which reconciles the two, which means within the thesis, there is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Within the antithesis, there is a problem. And the truth, the acknowledgement that there is something in the middle that forms a new thesis, and even the new thesis itself is incomplete. It's just a matter of time before that experiment creates an antithesis and or an improvement. Synthesis,
Mm-hmm.
a new synthesis, and this evolutionary process continues.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Johnny.
No, I'm sorry. Please finish your thought.
No, so I'm thinking that King is trying to wrestle with the things that he's saying, the scholastic nature of the nonviolent tradition, with the practical application of rejecting aspects of the system that can create a Donald Trump, or just a greedy legion is what I've been calling, many personalities, many spirits, all wrapped up and presented as one person.
Mm-hmm.
He's challenging everything that is American value, whether you like it or not. The man is president of the United States, and at any given moment, the president of the United States is the sum of who we are. That person just is.
Mm-hmm.
And the most painful part for Americans, I'm thinking in this hour, is we are looking at ourselves. We are looking at exactly how we raise our children. We are letting them learn and read anything. They can watch anything. They can get everything they want for themselves. That is as much an American value as anything we've seen. And we have never said, Johnny, one time that there's something wrong with it.
Yeah. So Jesse, this Hegelian king, and he was as you say, the quintessential Hegelian, the thesis, the antithesis, and then the synthesis. The beauty of that is the work that it must take to arrive at the synthesis. King admonished us that we must study, we must work at this idea of nonviolence. It doesn't just happen. It is an experience that we ourselves engage in real time, as well as over time. And so, there's real work to do here. And that's the commitment that people like King and the others we've mentioned did, that we seem perhaps, Jesse, to no longer do today. We want everything delivered to us on a silver platter, or perhaps delivered to us now. We need to use another term. We want AI to do all of our thinking for us, right? We want social media to tell us how we ought to behave. In fact, we want technology to babysit our children, to raise our children. And so where have we come to, in this day, in this time? And how do we recapture the creative drive and energy that created such people as King and Mandela and so many others? We do that by personal commitment, and not so much individually thinking about ourselves, but thinking about the humanity and dignity of all others.
I've never had to give much reflection to this until I went to prison. I didn't see my trajectory as being anything different than any other American who wanted to be known for what they were doing. They wanted to be maybe a public service, maybe they wanted to be a politician. But if there is a trajectory change in my life, it's it's that moment, right? I mean, it's that time that I'm forced in the middle of my life to think about my life and to think of how I want the story to end. And so incarceration can be a turning point. There's no doubt about that. But then there are the Amish who live a certain way. Now, I'm not completely in agreement with the way the Amish live. I mean, I think that living in the 17th century is it's a little hard for me to fathom. I think the tradition of African Americans has forced us out of any relationship with the idea of the 17th century. I know that our time is running near. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More with Dr. Johnny Mack when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Still battling a thirsty lawn that guzzles water and drains your wallet? Let LADWP turn that patch of grass into a gorgeous drought-smart garden for free. We're talking a full California-friendly landscape makeover designed and installed by pros at no cost to you. That's right, LADWP does the work, you get the upgrade. Ready to transform your yard and save big? Visit LADWP.com/leap. That's LADWP.com/LEAP.
This is the story of the one. As the purchasing manager at a manufacturing plant, she knows the only thing more important than having the right safety gear is having it there when you need it. That's why she partners with Grainger for auto reordering, so her team members can count on her to have cut-resistant gloves on hand, and each shift can run safely and efficiently. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick, and it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks vapors when you need more comfort for yourself. Use as directed.
I love a day on the water with friends, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis sometimes holds me back. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy.
Teaching music is my passion, but my active psoriatic arthritis can limit me at times. Now I'm treating my joint symptoms with Skyrizi.
With Skyrizi, most people with plaque psoriasis saw 90% clearer skin at 4 months.
Or if you are an adult with active psoriatic arthritis, Skyrizi helps you move with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
There's nothing like clearer skin.
There's nothing like better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZI to learn more.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Not everything announces itself. Some things simply arrive, and the room is compelled to adjust. This is grooming without apology, without noise, without compromise. Gods and money, organic formulations, clean precision, crafted for skin that does not ask for permission to be felt. Element Cream, a rare hydration layered like an oud at dusk, measured, enduring, unmistakably masculine, moisturizing oil, a quiet revolution, restoring what stress, climate, and time attempts to claim. This is not skincare. It is composure made visible. It is inevitability. Gods and money exist impeccably. Discover the ritual at godsandmoney.com. That's Gods and Money, MONY.com.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to The World House on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special regular contributor is none other than Dr. Johnny Mack. Johnny, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse, very much. Good to be here.
Johnny, before we have our final reflection and thought, can you share with us how we can support your work?
Thank you very much for asking. The World House Project, of course, is our organization. It's the World House Project, Inc. Our website is the World House Project. That is THE World, WRLD Project.org. There you can find out about our work, and you can donate to our work at our website, theworldhouseproject.org.
We look forward to being supportive of your work. It's nothing short of outstanding. Johnny, I want to make two observations. Christianity is divided largely in the world into two major sects, the sect of Catholicism and the sect of Protestants. The Protest movement, we broke away from the Catholic tradition, both Christian traditions, but the Protestant movement, where Dr. King found himself, the Protestant movement, right? Martin Luther posting his 95 Theses on the church at Wittenberg in the 1500s, I believe it was. I'm reflective of, in the Catholic Church, there is this symbol on the cross in just about every church that you go, this perfectly ideal 195-pound, 6'1", 6'2" Jesus of Nazareth hanging from the cross. And there is this Michelangelo and Buonarroti impression of who Jesus was in their tradition, and many have genuflected before that arrangement. But in the Protestant tradition, Jesus is not on the cross. If there's a cross in the church at all, because we celebrate the resurrection far more than we celebrate the idea that Jesus died on the cross. We celebrate in our tradition that he got up and kept it moving and came back from the dead, that he defied the odds, that hope is alive, that hope is possible, and that we can keep it moving, and we can be born again, not necessarily of the flesh, Nicodemus, but of the spirit. We can come on back, and that God keeps giving us chances, right? And I'm thinking in this moment that the transformation of the human spirit, is obviously deeply personal work. And in some cases, it requires community to help someone transform themselves into this revolution of values, which is a wonderful term in the Beyond Vietnam speech that Dr. King delivered in 1967, A Revolution of Values. But we have to juxtapose that revolution of values against a monk who has the power to set himself on fire, and then the interpretation of Han, who says this wasn't suicidality. This isn't crazy. This was the supreme act of love of our people to study war no more. And that if we have to do this to get your attention, then we are engaged in the deepest faith that we can engage in. This revolution of values has to be very much in line with Dr. King's final thinking on the sum of it all, the sine qua bonon of it all, that in the final analysis, it's love, that it's forgiveness, that love can conquer hate, that people of goodwill can overcome evil, but that the transformation of our spirits, if you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make change. Michael Jackson might argue. Johnny, we have about 3 minutes left in the show. It's all yours.
Well, Jesse, that's there's a lot to unpack there. Yes, King's Revolution of Values, as we've discussed before on this show, are very simple ideas. They are essentially human dignity, human liberty, and as you say, community. We find our dignity and liberty in community. And we often miss that point, that individualism, my personal pulling myself up by my bootstraps, neoliberalism tends to overshadow that we're all in this together, as King said. We'll either live in a world house as brothers and sisters, or we'll perish as fools. And so those values that you mentioned, Jesse, love and forgiveness. A third I would add to that, and I'm sure you would agree, is ultimately reconciliation. It's one thing to say we love, but that manifests in how we reconcile with each other, individually and collectively. Reconcile within ourselves, with ourselves, as we struggle with our own individual humanity, but how we reconcile in community and build the kind of world that we want to live in, this world house. And I think, Jesse, that's the hope. That's the message of hope, that we have to keep, as your dad says, hope alive. And that life is the life that we live individually and collectively. That is the hope. And we collectively must keep it alive in community. And so I hope that this revolution of values that King talked about will live in peace.
Johnny, we're so grateful for your contribution, not only to the show, but to the country and to the world. Reconciliation. That's the hard work.
Yeah.
We can all say that we love. We can all say that we forgive. But going that extra mile to turn an enemy into a frenemy, or to, as Dr. King said in that speech, the most difficult part of this task is to see the world and to see the world from another person's point of view, and to understand that point of view. You can't even approach the Hegelian synthesis of brotherhood and sisterhood in the world unless you can first see the good in just about any part of human creation. You've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and the World House with none other than Dr. Johnny Mack. Looking forward to tomorrow when we're on Fat Meat Fridays with the creator of our show, Gina Towns. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
KBLA